I woke up in darkness. Not the gentle, familiar darkness of closed eyes, the kind that cradles you like a lover. No. This darkness was thick, suffocating, pressing against my skull as if it had substance. I blinked, or tried to, but nothing came. My eyes felt alien, like strangers had walked in and replaced them with hollow stones. Panic hit first. My hands trembled. I tried to move. Nothing. Not a muscle obeyed. Not a sound escaped. Then I heard him. My husband. Relief and terror collided inside me. Relief that he was near. Terror because the way he spoke, soft, controlled, almost clinical, felt like it could slice through bone. Don't raise your voice. I froze. Relief turned to something else, suspicion. He was speaking to someone. Someone else. A woman. And then I heard her laugh. Light, careless, elegant, cruel. Italian. Perfect Italian. You planned all this, didn't you? She asked. And now you sound nervous? I understood every word. My heart stopped. He didn't know. He had never suspected. She's my wife, he said quickly, his voice tight. I didn't plan for it to go wrong. Wife. The word twisted in my chest. I wanted to grab it, hold it like a shield, but it felt hollow, meaningless, stripped of love and trust. You timed it perfectly, the woman continued. The street, the angle, the impact. Enough to damage her optic nerves. Accident. Optic nerves. My pulse stuttered. My chest clenched. I wanted to scream. To deny. To claw reality into something familiar. But my body was useless. My mind was all I had, and it raced frantically. She'll regain some vision, he said quickly. Eventually. Eventually. She pressed, her voice cold, triumphant. If she competes, I lose. You knew that. A slow, deliberate silence fell. Then his voice, low, calm, terrifying, cut through it. She's the most gifted painter of her generation. If she enters the patronage competition, you won't stand a chance. And if she can't see, my chest felt hollow. She won't paint. She won't create. She won't exist in that world anymore. Tears burned my cheeks. My lungs ached. My hands curled into fists I couldn't move. All those nights of painting, of struggling, of dreaming, of pouring my soul onto canvas, all of it, dismissed with such casual cruelty. She's unconscious, he added, as if that made everything right. She doesn't speak Italian anyway. I almost laughed. I almost screamed. My mind clung to sanity, like a lifeboat in a storm. The woman stepped closer. I could hear the sharp click of her heels. Predatory. Confident. Victorious. And if she wakes up, she won't remember, he said. And if she does, what can a blind woman prove? His fingers brushed mine. The same hand that had traced my brushstrokes, praised my colors, kissed me after my first solo exhibition. The same hand that once held me like nothing could harm us. And now it was the hand of my destruction. I felt rage, sorrow, disbelief, heartbreak, all at once. I wanted to shake him, to scream, to claw his face until he felt the weight of every promise he had broken. I wanted to collapse into tears and never move again. But I couldn't. I had no choice. I had to lie. I had to pretend. My mind raced back to memories, my first painting, the smell of wet oil on canvas, the exhilaration of the gallery lights, the warmth of applause. Every brushstroke I had loved, every color I had chosen, every dream I had nurtured, it all seemed so fragile now, so easily stolen. They thought I was helpless. They thought I was blind, broken, defeated. But I was awake. I could hear everything. Every plan. Every lie. Every cruel calculation. Tears slid down my face, invisible in the darkness. Fear throbbed in my temples. My chest ached with betrayal, grief, and disbelief. I didn't know what they would do next. I didn't know if I would survive. And yet, beneath the terror, beneath the grief, beneath the despair, a spark flickered. I was not powerless. Not yet. But everything I had trusted, my husband, my love, my life, My art had been shattered. I didn't know how I would fix it. I didn't know if I would ever see again. I didn't know who I could trust. And in the silence of the hospital, with the faint smell of antiseptic and lavender and the distant hum of machines, I realized I was completely, utterly, terrifyingly alone. Except maybe, just maybe, I wasn't. I could still think. I could still plan. I could still wait. I could still listen. And somewhere in the dark, that was enough for now. I stayed still. Every muscle, every breath, every heartbeat silent. They thought I was asleep, helpless, broken. And for a moment, I let myself pretend. You really think she'll ever paint again? The woman's voice was soft, like silk sliding across glass, but it made my blood run cold. She's unconscious, my husband said, almost lazily, brushing my hand like he had always done before, back when love meant something. She doesn't speak Italian anyway. She won't remember a thing. I almost laughed, but my throat was tight, and the sound would have betrayed me. So I stayed still, letting their confidence wrap around me like a cage. She doesn't have to, the woman said, a smirk curling her lips. She's already finished. I imagined smashing her face, but I didn't move. I couldn't. Not yet. Days passed in a blur. Nurses came and went, the antiseptic smell sharp in my nose, the faint lavender from the room lingering like a ghost. My husband hovered constantly, whispering words I used to love. It's okay. I'm here. Everything will be fine. It felt like knives. Everything will be fine tore a little more of me away. And then one morning, the woman leaned over my bed, her perfume cloying. Do you even remember what it feels like to pick up a brush? She asked, her voice soft, cruel. I made a soft, unconvincing groan. Good, she said, smiling. Just the way I like her. Fragile. Broken. Helpless. My jaw ached from clenching it. I imagined biting her. Scratching her. I imagined anything that could make her feel even a fraction of the terror she had caused me. But I didn't. I couldn't. Not yet. You're too confident, I whispered to myself, barely audible. You don't know me. Later, he came in alone. The way he looked at me, calm, gentle, pretending worry, made my stomach twist. He brushed my hair back from my face. Just rest, he said. We'll get through this. I promise. I almost let a tear slip. Almost. And then the door opened quietly. A man I hadn't seen before stepped inside. Korean, maybe mid-30s, quiet presence, and eyes that seemed different. Caring. Watchful. Something in his posture, the way he adjusted my pillows, the way he spoke softly under his breath, told me he was not just a nurse. Who? I tried to ask, but my voice came out as a whisper. Weak. Vulnerable. Perfect. He didn't answer at first. Just smiled gently. I'm here to help. Don't worry. His Korean words were soft, unfamiliar to me, but his tone, it had warmth. I studied him, lying there, pretending to be nothing. My mind screamed in relief and confusion. He wasn't the husband. He wasn't the woman. He might be someone I could trust. But could I trust anyone? He leaned down to adjust the blanket over my shoulders, and I caught the faintest scent of cologne. Clean, subtle, nothing like the mistress's sickly perfume. My heart clenched. Something inside me twisted. Easy, he murmured, noticing my fingers twitch. Try to relax. I stayed still, silent, watching, listening, learning. Later, when he stepped out, I finally let myself breathe. They think I'm broken, I whispered, my own voice trembling. They think I can't hear, can't understand, can't fight. A tear rolled down my cheek, unrestrained. But they have no idea. And somewhere deep inside, buried beneath fear, betrayal, and anger, a spark of hope flared. I didn't know how I would do it. I didn't know when I would act. I didn't even know if I would survive. But I was awake. And as long as I stayed awake, I had a chance. The woman thought she had won. The husband thought he was clever. But the real game had only just begun. And I, helpless, unseen, unheard, was still in it. The first thing I noticed when I woke that morning was the faint light cutting across my eyelids. A thin sliver of gold, and for the first time in days, my chest lifted with a little hope. My eyes ached, but they could sense shapes, shadows, just enough. I had to move. I waited for the perfect moment. My husband had left the room, probably confident in my helplessness, and the mistress had gone to some gallery meeting, her heels clicking arrogantly down the hall. I sat up slowly, testing my limbs. Pain shot through my shoulders and wrists, but I swallowed it. My heart pounded, not from weakness, but from exhilaration. For the first time since the accident, I felt a flicker of control. Then I heard him, the Korean man, his soft voice, carrying across the room. "Are you awake?" I froze. Yes," I whispered, keeping my voice fragile. He stepped closer, gentle, cautious. "Be careful. Don't strain yourself. I can help." I swallowed. His concern felt real. I had never known someone could care without hidden motives. "Not now. Not in this place." "I can move," I said slowly, testing him. My voice cracked, fragile, just like they expected. He nodded, a small smile flickering. "Good." Slowly, one step at a time. I followed his directions, letting him adjust my arms, my legs, helping me sit. Every step was a silent victory. Every inch I moved, without help, was proof that I wasn't the broken woman they thought I was. Then I spoke, careful, low. "If they see me, They won't see you if we're careful," he replied. "I know a way. I've seen this before. You're stronger than they think." His words made something stir inside me. Hope, fear, and a spark of determination. By evening, when the mistress returned, flaunting her confidence as if the world were hers, I was ready. "Oh, she's awake," the woman said, circling the bed like a predator. "And still so fragile." I let my eyes flutter weakly. I feel dizzy," I whispered. She smirked. "That's right. Weak. Frail. Exactly as she should be." My husband hovered beside me, brushing my hair back. "Don't worry," he said. "Rest. Nothing will happen to you." I let myself sigh, soft and defeated. Then, when their backs were turned, I felt my pulse spike. My body, my mind, every fiber of me screamed. Now. I slipped my hand under the blanket, feeling for the emergency button on the side of the bed. The Korean man had shown me, discreetly, in a way that no one else noticed. I pressed it once. Twice. The door clicked. He was here. "Now," I whispered. He helped me stand, supporting me as I moved like a shadow, silent, deliberate. The mistress looked up, confused, her smirk faltering. "What are you doing?" she demanded. "Just resting," I murmured, letting my voice tremble. Perfectly fragile. The Korean man guided me through the corridors, avoiding the nurses, avoiding the cameras, avoiding anyone who might recognize me. My heart pounded, but my resolve was stronger than fear. Outside, the air was crisp. The night smelled of olive trees and distant sea, of cobblestone streets and cold stone walls. I breathed deeply, tasting freedom for the first time since the accident. But even in the moonlight, I knew this wasn't over. "They'll come after you," he said softly, his hand steadying me. "You need to leave Italy." I nodded. My vision was still blurry, my hands shaky, but my mind was sharp. They thought I was broken, helpless, defeated. They were wrong. "I want to paint again," I whispered, almost to myself. "I want to show them what they've lost." He looked at me, a glimmer of admiration in his eyes. "Then you will. But first we keep you safe. You heal. You regain your sight." And then his words trailed, but the meaning was clear. Together, we would fight. I didn't trust easily. I didn't trust anyone. But for the first time, I felt less alone. The city was quiet, but I felt the shadows following me. My husband's words, the mistress's laughter, their arrogance, they were everywhere. And yet, for the first time in days, I felt alive. I would survive. I would reclaim my sight. I would reclaim my art. And when I did, They would regret ever thinking they could destroy me. Italy smelled different in the morning, fresh, sharp, and alive. I stayed in the shadowed apartment the Korean man had helped me reach, listening to the distant hum of the city. My hands itched for paint, for canvas, for brushes. The emptiness of not creating burned in my chest like fire. "You need to rest," he said softly, watching me pace. His dark eyes were steady, cautious, but they held something else, a quiet understanding that startled me. "Your eyes are recovering. You can't push too fast." "I can't do nothing," I said sharply, my voice brittle with need. I have to start, even a little, just to feel alive." He studied me, then nodded. "Then we start small. Touch the canvas. Don't rush. Feel it." It was the first time anyone had given me space to breathe since the hospital. I took the brush in trembling fingers, feeling its familiar weight. My eyes still blurred, but I could sense the texture, the slope of the bristles, the pull of the paint. I closed my eyes and let my hands do what my mind remembered. Lines, shadows, colors that didn't exist yet. "This is good," he whispered. "You're remembering. Your instincts, they never left." I wanted to cry. My hands shook, not from weakness, but from emotion. Every stroke was defiance. Every color was a heartbeat. Every shadow was revenge. Then he cleared his throat. "I've been keeping an eye on her." I froze. He didn't need to clarify. I knew exactly who he meant. "The mistress?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. He nodded. "She's gaining attention. Your husband is proud of her. You know how he likes to display victory." A cold anger rose in my chest. I had imagined this moment, the two of them basking in their planned success, while I hid in the shadows, pretending broken. Now it was happening. And soon, they would realize their prize wasn't as untouchable as they thought. "Good," I said quietly. "Let them think they've won. Let them think I'm gone. Let them." I stopped, choking on my words. "Let them underestimate me." He didn't speak. He just watched me, his gaze almost protective. "Do you ever," I hesitated looking at him, "do you ever think someone can love someone they barely know?" His eyes softened, something almost tender in the glance. "I think love doesn't need permission. Sometimes it waits, quietly, and then it becomes everything." I swallowed, looking away. My chest tightened. I didn't know how to process the flutter in my stomach, the warmth his words brought. I couldn't afford distraction, not yet. Days turned into weeks. My sight returned slowly, each day a little sharper than the last. I painted in secret, creating shadows, strokes, and shapes I had never attempted before. Every piece was a quiet scream, a secret message to the world. I was alive, and I was coming back. One evening, we received news. The mistress had a solo exhibition. My husband had attended, smiling, praising her as if he had nurtured her talent himself. I clenched my fists, fighting the bile rising in my throat. "She's using my style," I whispered, rage burning in me. "They stole everything from me, my ideas, my art, my life." He placed a gentle hand on my shoulder. "And soon, the world will see the difference. Your name will shine. Your work, it's still yours." I looked at him then, really looked at him, and for the first time, I didn't feel fear or anger, just trust. Cautious, tentative, but it existed. Somehow, in the midst of betrayal and darkness, I felt a flicker of hope that wasn't just about revenge. "You've always believed in me," I murmured. "I never stopped," he said. The city lights shimmered outside the window. I traced a brush across a canvas, the strokes bold, defiant, secret. My heart pounded, not just with fear or anger, but with anticipation, with life. And somewhere deep inside, I knew the moment to strike was coming. The mistress's pedestal was high, but every pedestal has cracks. And I, hidden, unseen, underestimated, would find them. But the question lingered in the quiet of the apartment as the night settled around us. Could I trust him? Could I open my heart while the world was still so dangerous, so uncertain? I didn't know. All I knew was this: I was no longer the broken woman they had left behind. and soon they would see exactly what they had done. The morning sun hit my face differently this time. I blinked, and for the first time, fully, truly, I could see. The world was sharper, brighter, crueler, more beautiful than I remembered. Colors I had feared I'd never touch again now flooded my eyes. The soft gray of the city walls, the gold shimmer of sunlight on water, the deep green of olive trees swaying in the courtyard. I swallowed, a mix of joy and fury twisting inside me. The gift of sight was mine again, but so was the memory of betrayal. "You're awake," he said softly, stepping closer. His dark eyes studied me, cautious, caring. There was something unspoken there. Fear, admiration, a quiet relief. Yes, I whispered, my voice trembling. "I can see." He smiled, a rare, almost shy smile, and I felt a pang in my chest. "And you look strong." I let him think that. For now. He had seen me at my weakest. He deserved to see me at my strongest. Later that day, we watched news of the art patronage competition. The mistress's latest exhibition had been hailed as brilliant. My husband's pride was evident. He had tweeted, posted, praised. And I let them think they had won. But this time, I was not powerless. "I want to see everything," I whispered, almost to myself, almost a promise. He handed me a brush. "Then start." I returned to the canvas in secret, every stroke a whisper of revenge. My colors were sharper, my shadows deeper, my lines more precise than ever. Every piece screamed my pain, my strength, my survival. The first public sign of my return came unexpectedly. My husband and the mistress had a small gala for her work, a celebration of her success. I attended, hidden, a shadow among the guests, my presence unnoticed, my eyes keen, piercing, tracking them. She saw me first. The mistress. Her smile faltered. Recognition, disbelief, panic flickered across her face. "Impossible," she whispered. I smiled softly. "I told you I was just resting." My husband's jaw tightened. His eyes widened, disbelief and fear mingling in the same look I had seen countless times in my own paintings. The moment someone realizes they misjudged you. She can see," he whispered. I tilted my head, mock innocence on my face. "Oh, I've been seeing. I just didn't think anyone needed to know." The room shifted around us, the whispers and gasps rising like a tide. The mistress tried to step forward, but I caught her gaze, cold, controlled. "Stay back," I said softly, almost a whisper, but everyone heard it. The crowd froze. My husband stepped forward, attempting control, but the charm, the power, the arrogance that had carried them both crumbled under the weight of my presence. I glanced at the second man, my quiet protector, standing a few steps behind, watching, his expression unreadable. I gave him the smallest nod. He understood. I had taken my first step. My sight was back. My power was back. And my revenge had begun. And as the night settled, the city lights glinting off glass and water, I realized something terrifying and wonderful. This was only the beginning. The mistress would fall. The husband would regret everything. And I would rise, stronger, wiser, and unstoppable. But the question lingered in my mind, a whisper of fear I could not ignore. Could I also let my heart survive? Could I let someone in, someone who had been patient, quiet, caring, someone who had loved me without expectation? I didn't know. All I knew was that the world would soon remember my name. And those who thought they had broken me would finally see the truth. The gallery smelled of oil, paint, and ambition. I stood at the edge of the crowd, my eyes sharp, my heart steady. Every whisper of the patrons, every rustle of fabric, every tilt of a head was a signal. They had believed the story my husband and the mistress had spun, that I was broken, blind, defeated, that I was gone. I smiled to myself. How little they knew. She was there, radiant in a shimmering emerald dress, laughing like the queen of the night. But there was a tension beneath her laughter I hadn't noticed before, subtle, like a flicker of shadow in the corners of her eyes. My heart hummed. The game had begun. "Are you ready?" the Korean man asked, leaning close, his voice low enough for no one else to hear. I nodded. "Let's begin." Our plan was simple, yet devastating. I had secretly submitted one of my new works under a pseudonym, a piece that rivaled the mistress's latest masterpiece. Tonight, in this glittering room, the patrons would see the truth. The mistress noticed first. Her smile faltered when the curators paused before my hidden piece, whispers spreading like wildfire. "Who?" she stammered, eyes darting. I stepped forward, graceful, poised, every inch the woman they had tried to destroy. "You must be surprised," I said softly, letting my voice carry through the gallery. "It seems I've been painting all along." Gasps erupted. Patrons murmured. Cameras flashed. The mistress's laughter died in her throat. My husband's jaw tightened. "You, how?" he whispered, his confidence cracking. "I never left," I replied, letting my gaze sweep the room, landing on each of them in turn. I was just waiting for the right moment. The room tilted under the weight of my presence. I felt the thrill of triumph, but there was more. I felt the quiet satisfaction of watching them realize that their arrogance, their cruelty, their betrayal had only made me stronger. The mistress tried to intervene, her voice high-pitched, faltering. People love my work. This is nothing." I interrupted softly, cruelly, letting every word drip with precision. "You've built your empire on my absence, my silence. And now," I let my gaze fall on her, sharp and unyielding. "You'll see what happens when the broken woman rises." My husband moved closer, attempting to control the chaos, but his charm, his power, all the authority he had relied on, faltered. He realized too late that the world no longer saw him as the clever, untouchable puppet master. They saw him as complicit. Later, after the guests had left, the mistress fled the gallery in tears, her emerald dress a smear of shattered pride. I followed quietly, keeping my distance, savoring the moment. The first taste of justice. Outside, the city glittered under the Italian night sky. I felt a hand on my shoulder. "You are brilliant," the Korean man said quietly, a warmth in his eyes that made my chest ache. Every move, perfect. They never saw it coming. I turned to him, my lips trembling, not from fear or anger, but from a growing, undeniable emotion. "I couldn't have done it without you," I whispered. He smiled softly, but his eyes held something more, something I couldn't yet name, but wanted desperately to understand. "You didn't need me. You were always strong. I just helped you see it again." My heart thudded. This was different from fear or rage. It was hope, fragile but real. Someone believed in me, not as a tool, not as a prize, but as the woman I truly was. I looked back at the city lights, at the shadows of my enemies dissolving in the night, and realized that revenge was sweet, but survival and the possibility of love were sweeter still. The night was ours, and I was no longer the woman they thought they had broken. But the final act, the ultimate reckoning with my husband, was still to come. The gallery buzzed with anticipation. Tonight wasn't just another exhibition. Tonight was the culmination of everything: the betrayal, the pain, the stolen years. My chest tightened, but it wasn't fear. It was fire, determination, power reclaimed. I stepped into the room, the bright lights revealing every detail of the space. Patrons whispered. Cameras flashed. And there, across the room, my husband's face betrayed what he refused to admit: panic. The mistress stood by his side, pale, trembling, her once perfect composure shattered. Every smile she had ever worn was gone, replaced by fear she couldn't hide. "Impossible," she hissed, her voice shaking as she saw my latest work on display, a painting that surpassed everything she had ever claimed to create. I smiled softly, letting my eyes sweep the room. "Surprised?" I asked, letting each word carry the weight of months of pain, loss, and silent preparation. My husband's jaw tightened. You, how? He whispered, disbelief cracking through his carefully maintained mask. I've been seeing, I said, letting the words settle like a blade. Seeing everything, feeling everything, painting everything. And now, everyone will see what I've always been capable of. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Patrons murmured, whispers rising like a tide. Cameras captured every moment, every reaction. My husband tried to speak, to explain, but no one listened. The world was witnessing the truth. The mistress tried to step forward, pleading, faltering. People love my work. You this. I stepped closer, cold and unyielding. This is what happens when you build your life on someone else's ruin. When you steal, cheat, manipulate, and destroy, I let my gaze meet hers, sharp and piercing. You will fall. Her hands trembled. Tears leaked down her cheeks. I felt no pity, only the quiet satisfaction of justice served. The final moment came quietly, but it was mine. My husband stepped forward, desperate, his voice low, controlled, but full of the arrogance I had once loved and once believed in. Think carefully, he said. Everything you've done. Everything you've done? I cut him off, my voice steady and strong. You tried to destroy me. You tried to blind me, to steal my art, my life, my identity. And yet, I stepped closer, letting every ounce of truth and power shine through my gaze. Here I am. And you? You are powerless. He faltered, his carefully constructed mask shattering before the witnesses. The mistress shrank behind him, defeated, exposed. The gallery buzzed, alive with the drama unfolding. And then he left. The two of them, humiliated, powerless, vanished into the night, leaving me standing in the center of the room, my triumph absolute. I let out a long breath, relief and exhilaration coursing through me. Every tear I had shed, every sleepless night, every moment of fear, it had led to this. I had survived. I had reclaimed my sight, my art, my life. And then I felt a hand on my shoulder. Turning, I saw him, the Korean man, Young-woo, who had believed in me, who had helped me see again, who had stood quietly at my side through everything. His eyes were soft, proud, and warm. You did it, he said simply, his voice husky with emotion. I smiled, letting myself finally lean into the warmth. We did it, I whispered. He looked at me, his gaze unwavering. Not just in the gallery. You did it for yourself. You survived. You rose. You won. I reached for his hand, fingers brushing his. And you were there the whole time, I admitted. I never thought anyone could see me the way you did. He smiled, a quiet, tender expression. I always saw you, even when they tried to hide you. For the first time since the betrayal, I allowed myself to feel more than just triumph. I allowed myself to hope, to trust, to lean into something real. Something steady. Something that had always been there, patiently waiting. Later, as the gallery emptied and the city lights glittered outside, we walked together, quietly, side by side. I felt the brush of his hand against mine, and I no longer felt the fear that had once consumed me. I had been broken, yes. I had been betrayed, yes. But I had risen. I had painted through pain, reclaimed my vision, and conquered the shadows of those who had tried to destroy me. And now, standing here in the quiet aftermath, I knew my heart, my art, and my life were finally mine again. And love, real, patient, quiet love, was waiting for me, right here, in the hands of someone who had never abandoned me.